Welcome to Module 10 of the CompTIA A course. For those of you that don't know this already, this is the first module in Core 2. And the previous module, being Module 9, was the last module in Core 1. So for those of you that has not done Core 1 yet, please go have a look at Module 1 in Core 1 and cover all of that content first before you jump into Module 10. Now, today's module is called Configuring Windows. It consists of two main sections we'll be covering. What are those two main sections? The first one is Configuring Windows User Settings. The second is Configuring Windows System Settings. Now, yes, as we go throughout this module, you're going to see some things that you are probably familiar with already. And you're going to see some things that you might not have known. Yeah, you learn something new every day, eh? So let's jump into the first section, configuring Windows user settings. The first topic in this section, Windows interfaces. So there's a bit of a picture for you guys there on the right. So if you're not familiar with that operating system, folks, that is Windows 10. Please take any picture you see in this course with a pinch of salt, because Microsoft does reserve the right to go and change these things at a moment's notice, and trust me, they love doing that. So ever so often, Microsoft will go and release a big fat update. They call these feature updates. And when they do that, they tend to go and change quite a few things on Windows cosmetically. They'll go and move stuff, rename stuff, add stuff, remove stuff. So what you see in there, that picture there, assuming you've got Windows 10, is not necessarily going to look like yours. Yours might look different. So if you look at that picture, the bottom left is a huge search bar. That's Cortana. But on yours, it might look different. It all depends on when last your machine updated, which update you've got, which build you've got. So it comes down to the same thing. So let's talk first about the user interface, the GUI, as for short. So since about Windows 95, we had a GUI, thank goodness for that. So that gives you the ability to go and browse the operating system. So you guys will be able to go and click on icons, you can go click on start, all that kinds of jazz. So that is great. The user interface on Windows 10, as well as Windows 11, is very, very user-friendly in my opinion. If you were to go look at some of the previous operating systems like Windows 8 or Windows 8.1, yeah, that's up for debate. I'll let you guys decide in the comment section whether those are any good or not. I don't like those very much. As for the desktop of Windows 10, you can obviously go and change that picture to whatever you guys want. The start menu and the taskbar at the bottom is more or less where they used to be if you go and compare this to some operating systems like Windows 7. So up until Windows 7, everybody was hunky-dory, everybody was happy-chappy because the start button was at the bottom left, and the start menu on Windows 7 looked very much like what we see in the picture there right now. You would click on start, a menu would pop up, kind of like what you guys see there, and it would for the most part be very user-friendly. Then Microsoft released Windows 8, because they wanted to tap into the tablet and phone market, and it was okay-ish if you go and put it on a phone or a tablet. I still don't like it. But when it came to laptops or desktops, it was a bit of a train smash because Microsoft rushed into it. So there was no start button, and the start menu that you guys see on the screen, it didn't exist exactly like that. You had to go and press the Windows key. That's the one with the little flag icon at the bottom left of your keyboard. And that would essentially fill up your whole screen. It was not very nice. Then they brought out Windows 8.1, so that at least brought back the start button on Windows 8.1, but it was not much better. Then, of course, now we've got Windows 10, which is what we see in front of us there. And here is a picture for you guys of Windows 11. Now, also, once again, take this picture with a pinch of salt. Your Windows 11 might not look like this. It depends on whether you've got drivers. If I look at that picture there, it doesn't look like any drivers are running. Because normally Windows 11 is very cosmetically appealing. The menus are transparent, smooth, round edges. That includes the taskbar and all the menus, guys. And that picture there, it kind of looks like the old Windows 95, Windows 98, if you guys ever saw those. So I think to give you guys a bit of a better idea of what these actually look like at this point in time, let me switch over to two virtual machines I've got running in the background, and we'll go and explore a little bit about Windows. Alright, switching over.
A few moments later.
Alright folks, here we are on Windows 10. My wallpaper's a bit small there. I haven't had time to fix that yet, but here we go. That is essentially Windows 10. Now on this Windows 10 edition or version or build, whatever you want to call that, I still have a big fat search bar here at the bottom left, as you guys can see. But depending on your build and your edition, it might not be a big white block like that. It might just be a small little magnifying glass, and only if you click on that would you actually get the search engine, which is actually known as Cortana since Windows 10 came out. If you go click here on the start button on Windows 10 at the bottom left, that is more or less what you guys can expect to find. This is known as the quick access start menu. The whole idea here is for you to go and pin or unpin things here in this general area that you go and access very frequently or a lot. So if there's anything you would like to access very quickly or something that you access quite a lot, very frequently, then you can just go and pin that here. I don't really see the point in using that. That's just me, because I feel you could just go and pin something as an icon here on the desktop, or you can just go and pin it on the taskbar. And when you go and do that, it's just going to be a heck of a lot quicker. If it's in the taskbar, you can just go click on the icon once. If it is an icon on the desktop, you just double click on it. But if it's in the start menu, you have to go all the way to the bottom left here to start, which is not end of the world. I mean, it's not that long, but it does feel like it takes longer. And then I have to go and click on the icon here. Now these icons here, these are known as tiles. They're not icons. Now, word to the wise, you do not actually get tiles on Windows 11 anymore. So for those of you that's going to be using Windows 11, let's face it, everybody's going to be using Windows 11 very shortly. You don't get tiles on Windows 11. You only get icons and stuff there, and a lot of widgets, quite frankly. So on Windows 10, if you're still using that, you can actually go and right-click on one of these tiles, if you want to call them that, and you can actually go and unpin it from start, like I'm doing right now. Now, if I unpin something like I just did, that does not mean that that component is now uninstalled. Absolutely not, folks. That simply means I've removed the component from the quick access menu. So if I scroll through this list of mine, it's going to be here. I think I just saw it there, scrolling way too fast. There it is, it's here at the bottom left. Let me see if I can drag this thing down a little bit. There we go. My mouse is way too sensitive today. There's Edge. You can see it's still actually open here on my taskbar as well. If I go right click there and I go and say pin to start, presto and behold, it is back. You also have the option to go and resize these little buggers. You can make them small, medium, and large. For some reason, it's not giving me the large option today. I think it depends on the component. You can drag them around, as you guys can see. And what you also get is live tiles. Not something really that we focus on that much in this particular course. It's not something they'll ask you in the exam, guys. But you do get live tiles. So a live tile is when the tile is connected to the internet and it shows you on this little picture, which is a thumbnail, some general information. So this could be a tile that's connected to the news. It could be a tile or an app that's connected to the weather. So if it's a weather app, it's going to show you some basic general information about the weather. It might show you what the maximum and the minimum temperatures are or expected to be in your general area, the chance of rain, all that kinds of stuff might be shown on the thumbnail or the picture here. But if you'd like to know more, you're going to have to click on that and actually open the app. It's exceptionally light on internet data, so you don't have to worry about it putting any form of strain on your data, your internet connection. It is really light. You'll never even know that it's running, guys. So that is the start menu, and those are the tiles. Now, if you go look at Windows 11, let me switch over to Windows 11 for a moment.
One eternity later.
Alright, here we are on Windows 11, folks. So that's the default wallpaper you will see of Windows 11. And you can, of course, go and change that as well if you need to. Taskbar is still at the bottom, but one of the things you will notice immediately when you start playing on Windows 11 for the first time is the start button is not at the bottom left. So that button you guys see there, it's widgets. That is not the start button, guys. It's actually here in the bottom in the middle. There it is. It's got a little Windows icon. You can see it says start if I hover my mouse cursor there. And if I click on that bad boy, there we go. That is the start menu. It looks like just some random menu. Yes, I know, but it is, in fact, the start menu. It doesn't look very appealing, I know, but that is because I don't have drivers running here right now, and the reason for that is because this is running on a virtual machine. If you're running this on a proper machine with some proper graphics drivers and all that, you would find that these menus actually are transparent. It looks really appealing. It looks like something straight out of NASA, and even the taskbar and everything else looks really, really cool. Granted, it does put some strain on your graphics card, but if you've got a very good graphics card, especially if it's a gaming rig, then you're never going to even know that it's running. So these, as you can see, are not tiles. They're kind of like icons of sorts. And just like in that previous start menu we saw on Windows 10, where you can go and pin or unpin tiles, you can go and pin or unpin things here in this little menu that you go and access frequently or not so frequently. Anything that you've used recently, any documents, anything like that, will pop up here in the bottom in the recommended section. And there is your settings. You'll notice the icon for settings looks very much the same as what you would find on most phones these days. Whether you're using Android or not, it looks very much the same deal there. That settings there, guys, is the new control panel on Windows 11. Do you still get the old control panel? Yes, you do. There it is. Now, these two are something we're going to be talking about in this module, by the way. We're not going to be talking about everything in the two control panels, but we are going to touch hit and run on certain topics, which is covered in this specific course. When it comes to the old Windows 10, yes, you still get the old control panel, and yes, you also have a new control panel there, which is known as the settings app. That thing there is also known as the settings app, but that is the Windows 11 version of it. All right, so let's quickly switch back to our presentation once more and see what's up next. There we go. Yep, I guessed it right. So next up, we're going to be talking about Windows settings and control panel. Pretty much what I was just saying before we switch back to this. So there we go. There's a picture for you guys. You can see that is the old control panel, at least one view of it. You can go and view this in many ways. So Microsoft has mentioned that they are going to remove the old control panel that so many of you guys know and so many of you guys are comfortable with. It's not a matter of they're going to be removing this overnight, no, because that will be a train smash. So they have actually actively been removing it for quite some time, in case you guys didn't notice. Instead, it's a gradual process. They're slowly transitioning people into the new control panel, which we'll get to in just a second. Otherwise, people are going to go into a panic. So every time they want to release something new, some new component, feature, or function, it is usually exclusively only available on the new control panel. And quite a few times you'll find that something you were able to do via the old control panel is now no longer there. You have to go and get it via the new control panel. Now, what the cheese is this new control panel I keep talking about? Where do you find it? What does it look like? Well, folks, there is what it looks like on Windows 10. Does it look familiar to you? It probably should, because you've more than likely have gone in there quite a few times. And we'll do that in just a moment on the virtual machines once more. I'm once again going to say what you see here in this presentation and what you see in my virtual machines, take that with a pinch of salt, because depending on when you watch this video of mine, it might not look exactly the same. The concept will still apply. When it comes to the exams, you will still be able to get the questions right. I just want to make it clear that things do tend to move around over time because of these updates Microsoft keep doing. So by the time you go and do this on your PC, if it's a couple of months or a couple of years after I've made this video, you might find Microsoft has added a couple of tiles or a couple of options or a couple of menus there. And that's normal. It's to be expected because technology is always evolving and always moving forward. So if you go and try and replicate what you see in this video, don't go into a panic if you don't see the exact same things, because that is to be expected. Things are going to change, folks. So once more, the picture we see in front of us, that's the new control panel that you'll find on Windows 10. And this one is the new control panel you will find on Windows 11. Now, at first glance, this one might actually confuse you if you've been using Windows 10 all this time. And the only reason for that is because, while you're comfortable and familiar with Windows 10, it's your comfort zone. But if you were to go and take the time and explore Windows 11, you will find it actually is easier and quicker to learn Windows 11 than it is to learn Windows 10. If you were to go and give a Windows 10 operating system and a Windows 11 operating system to someone that has not used either or ever, he or she would more than likely be able to figure out Windows 11 quicker, especially when it comes to this new control panel. It might not look like it, guys, but it is. It's very, very logically organized. It's very, very user-friendly. It has to be, because if it's not, people are not going to use it. They're not going to be able to figure it out. They're going to get annoyed and aggravated, and that means they're not going to buy the operating system, which is obviously bad for business. So since we're talking about all these control panels, let's switch over to Windows 10 again so we can show you guys this. All right, folks, there we are on my Windows 10 machine again. Let me just minimize this stuff or close this stuff. I was trying to change my background earlier. Didn't really get to it. Anyway, That's what happens when you fiddle with things you're not supposed to. So if I were to go, heck, we might as well go here to Cortana. If I go type in control panel, you'll see there it is. It's still there on Windows 10. It's not missing, not yet anyway. But it probably will be missing in the foreseeable future. One day is one day, and you're going to start your machine, and one of those big updates you're going to get, you're going to find a control panel is missing. And this will apply to both Windows 10 and 11. So, word of advice would be to start familiarizing yourself with the new control panel if you haven't done already. Now, that's not because of the exam, that's just some advice I want to give you guys because some of you guys are going to be working in the industry. And if you're only familiar with the old control panel, and Microsoft decides one day to just go and remove the old control panel, yeah, you're going to be caught with your pants on your knees, so to speak, and that's going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to dig and dig and dig to find where certain settings are, and it's just going to make you look unprofessional, especially in front of your bosses. So start familiarizing yourself with the new control panel. So this is the old one. I'm going to just minimize it for a bit. If you go to start here, there's the little sprocket icon. It says settings. If you click on that, that opens the new control panel. So yeah, I still need to activate this thing, but I literally just installed Windows on here, so forgive me. So I've got quite a few things to go and click on here. You might have less, you might have more. They might have been renamed on your machine depending on what build you have, what edition you've got, how many times it's been updated, when last it has been updated. But essentially, in a nutshell, that is more or less what you can expect to find. We are going to be diving into some of these components specifically in this module, some of them, not all of them. I'm going to be diving into specifically the ones that's specifically covered in this module. So if I'm skipping anything, it's not because I want to, it's because it's not covered in this module, or for all I know, it might not be covered in the course at all. There is some of these things that actually is not covered in the course at all. Yep, it's not a Windows 10 course, is it? It is an A+ course. So some of the things we're going to be diving into later is the system one there, and there's going to be sub-tabs. I think devices is one. I have to go and double check myself. Maybe there's going to be internet. I think apps is one. Can't really remember. We'll see as we go along. So that is the new control panel for Windows 10, folks. Let's show you what it looks like on Windows 11.
A few moments later.
Alright, so back on Windows 11 we are. Where do we find this mythical new control panel on Windows 11, you ask? Well, you're going to have to click on Start, which is in the bottom here. And no, in case you're wondering, you cannot move the Start button. Funny enough, before Windows 11 was officially released to the public, you did have the ability to actually go and drag the Start button to where you want it in the taskbar. And most of us would just drag it to the bottom left because that's what we are familiar with. And once they officially released it to the public, well, they didn't actually give us that ability in the end of the day. So there is the settings icon, and if I click on that, it's going to open that new control panel we spoke of earlier. Very, very logically organized. So in a nutshell, if you can read, you will be able to find what it is you're looking for. So there is a lot of the same components. I've seen a lot of these topics that they speak of in this module. They specifically only cover it from a Windows 10 perspective, but as a favor to you guys, I'm also going to cover this from a Windows 11 perspective, because by the time you watch this, half the people will be on Windows 11, and we know everybody's switching over to Windows 11. So what's the point of me covering this on Windows 10, and then everybody switches over to Windows 11? That just sucks. So let me do this from both a Windows 10 and 11 perspective, just to make sure we cover everyone on every operating system. Then we know we cover it. So let's go back to our presentation and see what's next up on the agenda. Alright, here we are. So we were talking about control panel Windows settings. Next up, we've got account settings, I see. Alright, so when it comes to account settings, you get the account settings app. This is something you're going to be accessing via the new control panels that we've shown you guys. And in there, you get what we call administrators, and you get standard users. Now, at this point in time where we are right now, pretty much everybody on every machine or in every company is an administrator. You're going to have a very hard time finding users that's still standard users. A standard user, in case you don't know, is someone that's got very limited privileges / permissions. He or she will, for example, not have the ability to go and install applications, programs, and games. They will not be able to uninstall applications, programs, and games. A lot of settings, for the most part, cannot be changed or configured in any way by a standard user. So not too long ago, only as recently as 10, 20 years ago, a lot of companies would make their average employee a standard user on their machines. Now, this came with benefits, it came with drawbacks. mostly drawbacks in my opinion, because every time a user wanted to install something, and let's face it, they are going to need to install things from time to time, that user is going to have to call the administrator, which might be you now, and they're going to say, hey, I would like to install X, Y, and Z. And this is going to be very annoying for you now, because you're going to have to first check what are they trying to install. Is it something legit? It's not something naughty. They're not trying to do something illegal or something that's got nothing to do with work. Maybe it's a game. And once you verify that it's legit, you will need to provide your administrator password. It's a huge schlep to go and do this, especially if you've got many users you're doing this for, and they're constantly calling you every day, all day, just for that. So instead, what we do nowadays is we just make everybody an administrator, because we know everybody is going to need to install and uninstall things and configure things on the machine from time to time. So instead, what we do now, which is a lot better in my personal opinion, is we've got policies and stuff running in the background, many kinds of policies, and they basically allow us to monitor the users and force them to comply to certain rules and regulations and things like that. These policies are things like compliance policies, and we can enforce these from anywhere. The user can be anywhere in the world. As long as they've got an internet connection on a screen, I can enforce my compliance policies. Especially if you look at people working from anywhere these days. People are working from home and wherever the heck these days. And how the heck do we enforce policies on these people? That could be something like Intune, which is nowadays known as Endpoint Configuration Manager. I can go and force down my compliance policies on my users no matter where they are. If they try and install something which is not allowed, it's going to block that, or it's immediately going to uninstall it after they've installed it. If they try and uninstall something that needs to be on that machine according to your organization, it'll once again block them, or it will reinstall the component that's been uninstalled. Yep, I kid you not. Really, really cool. So this at least gives the user to go and install stuff now that it needs to be installed, and they're not going to be nagging at you the whole day to come and type in some sort of administrative password. You also get something called sign-in options. So if you go look at the old Windows versions we had, Windows 7 and all those ones, you have what we call your traditional password. So as soon as you get to the logon screen, you or the user would normally have to go and provide some sort of password, and that is it. That's the only way that you could go and prove that you are who you claim to be, that you're the owner to that account or the owner to that device. If you look at Windows 10 and 11, they've got various sign-in options. These include, but are not limited, wow, I sound like a salesperson. They include, but are not limited to things like a PIN. Yep, you know what a PIN is. You can go and use Windows Hello, which is really, really cool. A lot of people are starting to use Windows Hello. That's something new. And you can go and use what we call a picture password. It allows you or the user to go and choose any picture on their machine. It can be something you download. It can be something that's already on the machine. This can be a picture of a cat's face for all I know. And you get to go and do 2 to 3 random gestures on this picture. So if this is a picture of a cat, you can go and circle the nose of the cat. The gesture is going to disappear. After you've done your first gesture, you can go and do something else, totally random. This could be to draw a straight line from the nose to the left ear. Once again, it disappears. Once you're done with your 2 gestures, it's going to ask you to confirm your 2 gestures, kind of like when you're choosing your password. You're going to go circle the nose again. You're going to go draw that straight line from the nose to the left ear again. And there you go. You're set up. The next time you start that machine, it's not just going to ask your password. It's going to present you with that picture. And you will need to do those random invisible gestures, which nobody knows what they are. So is that going to keep someone off your computer? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, we're just trying to make it so darn gosh difficult for them. We're trying to discourage bad behavior, but you will never be able to stop someone from getting access to your machine. There's no such thing. Anything can be broken into, digitally or otherwise. At the end of the day, all you want to achieve here is just to make it so darn gosh inconvenient to the point where they get discouraged from doing it in the first place. Then we have what we call UAC, better known as User Account Control Panel. For those of you not familiar with this is something that came out on Windows Vista, or Vista, however you want to pronounce that. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So towards the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, this operating system was released, and one of the many, many new functions or features that came with it was UAC. Now what it did was, every time you opened a file, a program, a setting, you pretty much tried to do anything on that machine, a pop-up would pop up asking you or the user, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do that? It was so freaking annoying. It would pop up with almost absolutely everything. And that's not the worst of it. The screen would go completely black or dark, and the only thing you would see is this question asking you whether you are sure. Now, when Windows 7 was announced, I thought, okay, cool, they probably are going to make it better because it is a newer operating system and normally they fix any bugs and glitches then. But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to fix it entirely. Fortunately for us, it was fixed entirely on Windows 7 and would only ask you if you or the user were about to do something serious. If you were the administrator and you're about to change some serious system setting, it's going to say, hey, listen, my bro, are you sure you want to change that system setting? And that's the only time it would really ask you. If you're a standard user, which is very unlikely, it's going to say, okay, cool, are you sure you want to do this? And if so, please get the password of an administrator. Please contact your administrator. Pretty cool, right? Alright folks, and then next up we've got the topic of File Explorer. This is not something new in Windows 10 or 11, it's something that's always been around, at least since we've been able to browse a computer with our mouse cursor and all that, and since we've been able to click on icons and all that. So this kind of gives away what it is, so there's a bit of a picture for you guys. The File Explorer is essentially what allows you, or the user, to explore your machine. It's what allows you to go into this PC, your documents, your downloads, your pictures, your music, your videos, the ability to browse around, clicking on icons, going into folders, and just navigating in general. That, folks, is called the File Explorer. You, funny enough, get a lot of malwares that will actually attack your File Explorer because this is something that normally starts up automatically with your Windows. And all they will do is they'll just prevent it from starting up automatically with Windows. So when you start your machine, or when the user starts their machine, the machine is just going to look black. And all you need to do in those cases is actually just press Control Delete, click on New Task, and you just type in Explorer.exe, and it's going to start the File Explorer and it's going to look completely normal again. But for anyone that's not an IT, it really makes them freak the heck out when that happens. So that's a nice way to scare someone, but it's also not quite nice to go and do that. Now, when it comes to File Explorer, you can actually go and configure many settings, guys. Here's just a little bit of the tip of the iceberg, so you can, for example, go and make files or folders invisible if you need to. You can go and choose whether they are visible or not, so if an invisible file or folder is there, can you see it or not? You can go and choose whether file extensions are visible to you or the user or not. So if a file is a .txt file, will it just show you the name of the txt file, or will it also show the extension, which is .txt? So that's pretty cool. Most IT guys will normally have the file extensions of most files show. That's something I normally do because I want to know if I'm about to trigger some sort of malware, of course. Right, folks, believe it or not, that's already the end of the first section of this module. Time flies when we're talking nonsense and having fun. The second main section in this module is configuring Windows system settings. So we're probably, for the most part, going to be going into those settings, apps, and control panels, digging around in some of those menus and looking at some of the options we've got available. Yep. So before we jump into the first subtopic in this section, if you guys haven't done it already, please give the video a like. Don't be a weenie, like I normally say. I mean, I am doing this stuff for you guys for free, and it really does take me forever to go and record these videos and to go and edit these videos and to make sure the information is accurate and up to date. So the least you can do is to, well, just give it a like. That's my payment. And of course, if you'd like to know when the next modules comes out, and if you're afraid you might miss it, maybe subscribe. I've seen sometimes YouTube will suggest it to you. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you might not need to be subscribed. I've seen sometimes YouTube does that. But there's a chance it might not, because normally it does not. You have to really watch a lot of my videos for it to suggest it to you, because they're going to see, oh, you like this. But if you're scared you might miss it, consider subscribing. Otherwise, well, don't. Alright, so the first subtopic here, folks, is system settings. Now, there's a bit of a picture for you guys. It's a very old one, so we'll show you guys this practically in just a moment. But essentially what happened there is this person went into the settings app. This is Windows 10 by the looks of things. So this is the new control panel, specifically on Windows 10. You can go and do it via the old control panel to a certain extent, but it might just bring you to this menu depending on what build you've got. And you can obviously go and do this on Windows 11 as well. What you will see there is things like your display notification settings, power and battery settings, storage settings, and much more. I mean, you can see there in the picture, if you look at the the navigation menu there on the left in the picture, you can see there's quite a few things. Once again, take that with a pinch of salt, because when you go in there, you're probably going to see more or less. More than likely, you're going to see more than what I see there, because Microsoft is constantly adding more and more and more stuff there. So let's show you guys what this currently looks like on Windows 10. Switching over back to that Windows 10 machine. Alright, back on the Windows 10 machine we are. So I still have the settings app open from our previous demonstration in this module. So that is the main page in your control panel. So where we need to go is, well, system, because we want to see things regarding the system. You can actually even see some of the things I've mentioned there: display, sound, notifications, power, and obviously much more. If I go and click there, you can see these are some of the options I currently have available. You might have less, you might have more, but that is more or less what you can expect to find. You'll have the ability to go and change various things regarding your display, various things regarding your sound, notifications and actions. If you're wondering what they're talking about regarding that, that would be the bottom right section here. You'll actually have notifications pop up on your Windows 10 machine here, and you can go and choose what actions need to happen when you click here. You'll have the ability to go and turn off Wi-Fi. You'll have the ability to go and turn on or off tablet mode, things like that. Focus assist, not something anyone ever uses. Power and sleep options, that is one place you can go and do it from. So if I go in here, yes, that is one place. Mine does not have a lot of options because this is a virtual machine after all. If I were to do this on a physical machine, I would have more options, and even more so if I were to do this on a laptop physical machine, because laptops, let's face it, they've got batteries. Where you will definitely see the most options is if you do this on a laptop in the old control panel. The old control panel, in my opinion, actually has a little bit more options when it comes to power and sleep, and we will look at that a little bit later. It actually is a topic in this course, strangely enough. Here you can go to your storage options. I've seen this keeps changing a lot. This is one of the components that's probably changed the most. It'll show you how many hard drives you've got. It'll show you how much free space you've got, something you can see by just going into Explorer to this PC. But what's quite neat about this is it shows you what is taking up so much space. Now this is something new I've seen. You've always had the ability to see what is taking up space, but you normally have to go and click on the hard drive in question first. I think why it might not be doing that is because there only is one hard drive on this virtual machine. And it'll tell you, okay, it's apps and features, temporary files, your cache, your recycle bin. And if you feel something like your temporary files are taking up too much space, and trust me, this will take up a lot of space very, very quickly. You can, in fact, actually go there and you can go and choose what regarding temporary files you want to go and delete, or you just want to go and delete all of it. You can actually go and do that, which is pretty cool. I've seen, for example, on my work laptop, I will sometimes be running out of space. Whenever I go check, you will find it's normally the temporary files that's got quite big. It'll be anywhere between 20 gigs and 50 gigs, and I'll just go and delete all the files in the temporary files. And presto, I've got 20, 50 gigs of free space again. So just be careful what is in there, make sure that it doesn't delete everything. Maybe you want to keep certain things. You might want to click on there first and just check what it's going to delete, of course. Tablet settings, multitasking settings, and a lot more. So let's take a look at, let me see, scroll down, about. That's the actual thing I wanted to show you guys, about section. If we click there, that is currently what it looks like right now. Scroll down, it gives you various specs about the machine, how much RAM it's got, what operating system you've got. Is it 64-bit? So this is a 64-bit operating system on this virtual machine. It's running Windows 10 Enterprise by the looks of things. And it's essentially going to look very much the same on Windows 11. So let's just give you guys a quick peek of what this would look like on Windows 11. I'm adding that purely for you guys as an extra because I know we are currently in the process of switching over to Windows 11. The whole world is going to switch over to Windows 11. So when you guys start watching this video a couple of months or a year or so after I've released it, the chances are everybody's going to be on Windows 11, which means this video is going to be outdated. So I'm trying to keep it current by showing you guys Windows 11 as well. So switching over to Windows 11. Right, here we are. Let's just go open the control panel again. For some reason it's closed. There we go. Alright, so we are looking for system, and right off the bat I can see we are kind of in the right place. It's already on the system tab there. You can see the stuff is very logically organized. And there's display, sound, notifications. Pretty much the exact same thing we found on the system in the previous control panel. And here I can kind of get a sneak peek of what's in there. I just clicked on it and I can already see what's in there. So if I scroll down far enough, you're probably going to get an about section. Yep, there it is. Still there. So the stuff is still organized under the same tab or category, if you will. Go click on about and you will find the same information being displayed here. how much resources this machine has. Oh dear God, look at this machine. It's got a lot of RAM. Wow, that's impressive. And you can see what operating system it's running, which is 11 Enterprise by the looks of things. A fairly recent update. It's not too old. And yeah, not too bad in my opinion. Alright, so let's switch back to our presentation. What is up next? Alright, next up we've got update and security settings. So this is something you'll find on, once again, both the 11 and 10 side of the coin. This is all about keeping the system up to date, both updates wise and security wise. Just because you've got the latest security settings today, I'm not just talking about updates here, guys. Just because your settings are top notch today does not necessarily mean they are top notch tomorrow, because things are everlasting, because things are continuously changing. The whole platform is continuously evolving and changing. So maybe you got a new update, and with that new update, one of the previous settings you had is no longer the most secure setting. You might need to go and choose something else. Unfortunately for us, folks, both Windows 10 and 11 comes with built-in Windows security apps, one of which is the Windows Defender. Defender itself is not something new, but on Windows 10 going forward, Windows Defender is now a full-blown antivirus built into your Windows. A lot of the general population does not actually know that, so as long as you keep your Windows 10 or your Windows 11 up to date, that means your Defender is up to date, which also means your antivirus is up to date. There's not really a need for you to go and download, install, or buy an antivirus of sorts. You already have one. All you need to do is just keep your Windows up to date, which we know already was important to begin with. No, never mind Windows Defender. And if you keep it up to date, your Defender's up to date. So the only reason why you might want to go and switch over to another antivirus is if your company has a requirement for some other antivirus to be used, or if you have a personal preference, because we all have preference as well. Maybe you prefer one antivirus over another. So when it comes to doing Windows updates, which we know is very important, I don't like them because they always cause some sort of shenanigans on the machine. But when it comes to these updates, how do we go about doing it from the user's perspective, from the client side? You can either go and do a manual check. You can see there's a button there in the screenshot which says check for updates. Obviously, this button is going to move around over time. You know how Microsoft is. Or you can go and say scheduling. You can go and choose when it checks, how frequently it checks for updates. You cannot stop these updates, at least not the normal end user way. The only way you can stop this is if you're going to go and deploy these updates via some sort of company program like SCCM or a WSUS, something like that. But you can go and schedule when the updates take place. So you can go and specify your active hours. If you look in the screenshot there towards the bottom right, you'll see the third option from the bottom says change active hours. That gives you the ability on this machine to choose when your active hours are. So if I'm working on this machine from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, I can specify that as my active hours. It means this machine will not try and update or restart or do anything regarding that kinds of nonsense within the active hours, because it's going to disturb me. But when you're outside the active hours and you're just playing games or just doing whatever, it might possibly go and do an update then, because it knows this is not your active hours. You're more than likely just fooling around for the most part. Pretty cool, right? So all in all, when it comes to Windows security, as long as you keep it up to date, you should be alright. So let me show you guys what this looks like on Windows 10 and 11 very, very quick. Alright folks, here we are on the control panel. Well, the new one anyway, on Windows 10. Update and security, you can see it's very clearly labeled there. We just go there. And then somewhere here you'll find it. So clearly this virtual machine has never been updated or hasn't been in ages. It says, oh, that's today. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed on this virtual machine. It was installed very recently. You can go there, you can just say check for updates, and well, it's going to go and check for updates. I can actually go and click on that little bugger, and it'll eventually go and check for updates. Let's show you guys what this looks like. Oh, before we do that, there's the active hours I was talking about. So we go there. Automatically adjust active hours for this device based on activity. That is pretty neat. So it's going to go and check when you are most active and adjust according to that. Or you can go and specify your current active hours. So I can go and just specify here when I'm normally active. And in case you're wondering, I didn't actually specify that. That actually was the default setting. The fact that I said 8 o'clock from 8 until 5 or 7 until 5 was just a coincidence because that's normal working hours for most people. So I assumed Microsoft had the same idea here. Let us go back one. It's probably still going to be busy. Oh, look at that. It's busy downloading and installing. I'll be damned. All right, let's switch over to Windows 11. All right, here we are on 11. Still have the stuff open from earlier. Just going to go back here. Where's Windows Update? There it is. Very clearly labeled. I've never gone actually there when I go on my machine because, I mean, let's face it, this stuff just updates all the time. So there's no need for me to go in there. But if you are the kind of person that needs to or wants to go in there, you know, when it comes to forcing it to update, that is where you'll find it, guys. You can go there, you can force it to update, but more than likely you're just going to want to go and check when last did it an update so you can go and remove an update or something. You can see here updates paused, update history, all kinds of advanced settings you can go and play with. So if I go in there, these are the kinds of options you will have. Once again, there is the active hours. Delivery optimization. Looks like they've got a bit more options available here on the 11 side, which is no surprise because let's face it, 11 is newer and better than Windows 10, of course. So that's the options you've got available, guys. Let's swing back to our presentation. All right, next up, we've got power options. You would remember earlier when we were covering system settings, I told you we're going to get back to power options. We're going to cover this a little bit more in depth, but this is going to be covered from the old control panel's perspective because CompTIA is covering it from that perspective. It's not a bad thing because I've seen we've actually got a little bit more options available here. I've taken that screenshot that you guys see right now on one of my laptops. I did this specifically on a laptop, specifically a physical machine, because that's when you've got some of the most options available, because I would like to cover them all with you guys. So what we see there is power plans. Those are the ones that comes by default with Windows. I didn't make those, but you can go and create custom power plans if need be, where you can go make the PC, you know, save even more power if need be. I used to do that quite a lot at some point in time, but I don't really need to at this point. So the option you would normally be on is the one that's in dark bold there. At the top it says balanced. That means it's going to give your machine, your laptop or desktop, it's going to give it resources or power when it needs it. If it sees you or the user are opening a program or a game or something that's eating a lot of resources, a lot of RAM and whatever, it's going to give the machine more power. More power means more performance. But if you're running on a battery, that's going to massively deplete your battery a heck of a lot quicker. If it sees you or the user are basically doing hardly anything, maybe the machine is just idling there or you're doing little to nothing on it, it's going to reduce the power sent to your components because, well, it's just conserving battery life. If you were to go and choose the bottom option, Power Saver, it'll put the machine in a reduced power state. It's going to dim your screen's brightness. It's going to massively reduce the performance, the power sent to all components. Whether you're using the machine or not, it's going to reduce the power sent. It's going to really, really feel like the machine is lagging at times. Everything will be slow and somewhat non-responsive at times. It's actually annoying, to be honest. But if you're running on a battery and you're nowhere near any power and you're not going to have the ability to go and charge this battery if there's a battery on it, yeah, that might be an option you might be forced to go and use. High performance, which is the one mine is on currently, it will run that machine in high performance whether you need it or not, whether it's idling or not, it will run it in high performance. Mine is on that because of the nature of what I do. I'm a trainer and I do a lot of virtual machines, and the stuff I do is very, very resource intensive. So I'm constantly in a high performance mode on my machines. But if I find myself unplugging from power or I'm carrying my laptop around, I'm obviously going to go and switch over to Power Saver just to, well, conserve as much battery life as possible, folks. Now moving on to our next topic here, apps, programs, and features. So the very first one we'll discuss is Windows features. This is something you'll get on all Windows editions. What will vary is what features you've got available. So the higher end or the higher tier your edition of Windows is, the more goodies you'll have available. It's like most things in life. The more you pay, the more you get. So if you go to your programs and files in your control panel and you go to add and remove features, you will find it there. I can actually show you guys. So let me switch over to my Windows 10 machine. This is going to be the same on Windows 10 and 11. So I'm going to switch over to my Windows 10 machine. All right, here we are back in control panel on Windows 10. Now, Windows 11, same deal. The icons will just look a little bit different. It's just got a bit of a makeover, but it is the same thing. So if we go here to programs, it says programs, uninstall a program. You can actually go in there and it'll say programs and features. You see, there we go. Features, that's the one we're looking for. If you want, you can go and click on that, and then on the left side, there's a button that says features, I think. Or you can just go here, and then somewhere here, oh, there we go. Turn Windows features on or off. Just going to click there. And there's the menu. I think if I remember correctly, this machine is running Enterprise, so you're probably going to have the most features available on Enterprise. That's one of the highest tiers you get. The lower edition you are running, the less features you'll have available here. Most of these blocks are ticked or unticked. Unticked means that feature is not installed. Now, if I'm going to go and tick something, let's say Hyper-V, it's going to go and uncompress that. It's actually lying on the machine already. It's just in a compressed dormant format. It's kind of like a hidden superpower. And when I tick that box, it's going to uncompress that, install that, and probably restart the machine. In most cases, the machine will get restarted. It's kind of like unlocking a hidden superpower of your computer. Now, the reason why most of these things are not ticked by default is because it would make the Windows installation take a heck of a lot longer than what it's needed for. And it's unfair to punish 99% of the public if 99% of the public is never going to use this stuff. So instead, for the 1% or less that does need it, they can simply just go and tick these boxes and just turn the functions on after they've installed Windows. It's also in the sense of to conserve space on the machine. So they're in a compressed format, and for the 99% that does not need it, it's not using unnecessary space on their hard drives. And for the 1% or less that does need it, you can go and uncompress it, and it's going to take a little bit more space on your hard drive, of course. So these are extra features, programs of sorts, if you will, if you want to call them that. It gives your machine extra abilities. Really, really cool. You can think of them as extra programs. I mean, Hyper-V is something you would, for example, use to create virtual machines and manage your virtual machines. It's available on Enterprise and Professional, but you have to go and turn it on first on Windows. Otherwise, you're not going to have that goodie. Let's go back to the presentation. All right, so we spoke about Windows features. Next, we've got Store Apps. So the Store Apps is the apps you'll find in the Windows Store. So the Windows Store, Microsoft says this came out on Windows 10. Don't believe everything Microsoft tells you. If you go and check, you'll find that this did actually come out on Windows 8.1 as well. So if you go check on 8.1, the right editions, all the way to Windows 11, in the taskbar, there's a shopping bag. What exactly that shopping bag icon looks like, which is pinned in the taskbar, I can't tell you because they've changed this over the years so many times I've lost count. Sometimes it's transparent, sometimes it's got a nice colorful logo, other times it's just a blue logo, but it's a little bag icon that's got the Windows logo on it, normally in short. When you click on that, it will for the most part have Windows apps in the Windows Store. It's not limited to Windows apps. You do get third-party apps there. You can go and download, for example, series and movies and stuff. Most of the stuff will cost you money. Unfortunately, it will. But there are things that's free in the Windows Store. Hard to believe, coming from Microsoft, because Microsoft normally charges you a buck around any corner they can. There are stuff that's for free. But do not expect a lot if something is for free. There's a reason why something is normally for free, because it sucks normally in most cases. So that's the store or the Windows Store apps. Then you get what we call desktop apps. These are the ones that most of you are actually familiar with already. That's the ones you will go, you will walk into a store, you buy it, you take it home, you insert the disc or the DVD, and you install it. Or the ones you go and download online and you install it. Your normal, good old-fashioned Windows apps that you go and install the old-fashioned way. That, folks, is desktop apps. Alright, next on the agenda is app settings. So there's a bit of a picture for you guys of what it used to look like on Windows 10. We'll check in a moment if it still looks like that. So in a nutshell, this will allow you to go and uninstall apps. If you want to go and uninstall them, you can also go and do it via the old control panel via uninstall or add and remove programs, kind of like where we were now in a moment ago. And you can also go and set your default programs for certain file types here. So if I want to go to web browsing, which browser is my default? If I want to open, for example, a music file, like an MP3 file, which media player is my default? If I want to open a picture or a video, which is my default picture opener or viewer, which is my default view, my media player, that kinds of stuff. So let's go have a bit of a peek as to where this is currently now. So we'll find this and discover this together. Alright, so I still have this nonsense open from earlier. Let me just close that. Let's go find the new control panel. I think it's still open here in the background. Here we go. It was last doing updates. Ooh, it's installing. Huh, look at that. All right, we don't need that. What were we looking for? Apps. There we go. Apps. It should probably be in here somewhere. All right, there we go. So there's various assorted tabs here. So it looks like the stuff is actually categorized into multiple tabs. So on the first one, I'm assuming we're currently on the first one. Let me just click there again. Yep, we're currently on the first one here. It shows me how much space, or at least that looks like what it is. It shows me how much space some of this stuff is taking, when more or less it was installed. Pretty neat in my opinion. If I go to default apps here, it shows you what is the current default app for a certain task or a certain file type. So when it comes to email, it seems it's the built-in email client on your Windows 10 in this case, because I'm on Windows 10. You can go and change this. So web browser, for example, if I want to do web browsing, if you have any other browsers installed, I've got nothing because this is a blank Windows. But if you have any other browsers installed, you can actually go and click here. It's going to show you all your web browsers, and you can just go and choose which one you want to make your default. Same applies to all kinds of other tasks and all kinds of other file types as well. So that's basically what this all comes down to, folks. And you can, of course, go and uninstall apps from here as well. All right, let's swing back. Alright folks, next up we've got administrative tools. This is actually our last topic within this section for this module. So administrative tools, we're not going to cover any of them specifically in this topic and also not in this module. We're just talking about them in general. So where can you find the administrative tools? There's actually many ways. I see the CompTIA course just shows you one, but I will mention a few extra methods that you guys can go about this. So the first way is the way the CompTIA wants you guys to know about. That would be for you to go into the control panel. There's a bit of a picture for you guys. I took that on my laptop earlier. So there's a picture of us going into the control panel. Once you go into the control panel, you will have to go there to the top left where it says System and Security. Once you've gone into System and Security, this is what you guys will see. You'll see there at the bottom of the menu, I've already scrolled down. There's actually a lot of options here. I had to scroll down. So if you look at the scroll bar on the right, you can see I've scrolled down to the bottom. And where the bottom, second from the bottom, it says Administrative Tools. And if you were to go and click on that one, it says Administrative Tools. This is more or less what you will find. You'll see there's a pretty decent list of administrative tools. A lot of them are very cool, and a lot of these actually do get covered in the A Plus course. Not in this module, but they do get covered in the course. Not all of them get covered in this course, though, guys. You might think they do. No, that is just CompTIA for you. They don't even get all covered in the N Plus course. So some of them do, some of them don't. We'll cover the ones that we need to for the course, obviously, as the course progresses. Now, even though that is a very decent list, it is not all the administrative tools, guys. It's hard to believe, but it's not. There's many that's not actually shown on this list. And when you go and access these tools via other methods, some of them you'll see that overlaps with this, what we see here. And some of these methods will show you other tools, and some of them will have a few missing. So another way you can find these tools is to go to the MMC console, which is Microsoft Management Console. So you just go to Start, you type in mmc.exe, and you go and add the tools as snap-ins. That's another way. Another way would be for you to go to, for example, the msconfig. So if you go to Start and type in msconfig, which is Microsoft Configuration, and you go there, you'll find there's a tab that says Administrative Tools. That's another method. And there's quite a few other methods I'm also aware of. So there's a lot of methods, guys. Well, folks, if you are still watching at this point in the video, this is that point in the video where I'm going to give you something fun to do, just if you want, just for gags. So if you want, you can go type in the comment section, the Cookie Monster stole my cookies. You know, that's just to confuse the people that did not actually watch the video up until this point. Only the guys that actually watched the video up until this point will know what the heck you are talking about. So that's just an inside game amongst the people that actually complete the video. They will know what the heck it's all about and what the code word or code sentence is for that specific video. If you don't watch all the way, that's, well, I suppose it's your own loss. Maybe you already know the stuff. And like usual, if you've got any questions, guys, you're more than welcome to post those questions in the comment section. I will normally get back to you within about a day or two. It might be longer, but on average, I get back to every comment at least within 24 hours. Most of them, at least, I do. Well, guys, if you haven't done it already, please give the video a like. It really does help me out. Maybe subscribe if you feel like that's something you want to do. And I just want to give a special shout out and thank you to all of you guys that's been sponsoring this channel. You guys are awesome. Thank you to your Patreon guys. Thank you to the PayPal guys. Thank you for all of you that's been clicking on the thanks button below the video. That does help a lot. And even those of you that's just been buying me a coffee or a milkshake. Like I said in some of the previous videos, I'm probably going to end up buying milkshakes and not coffee of that money. And I'm probably going to end up giving it to my kids. But either way, it's still much appreciated. So if you want, you can find all that information in the video description down below. You can choose which way you want to sponsor the channel, even if it's just buying a milkshake for my kids. Alright folks, I will see you on module 11 in A+, which is the second module of core 2.